And so we were doing some work with my former advisor around Kodiak Island many years ago. And we had remotely operated vehicles, underwater vehicles, and took some videos. And then one of the instruments had a failure, and we needed a certain electronic component that we didn't have with us. So in order to continue, we needed to get that piece flown in from Kodiak. And we were on the south side of Kodiak Island, in the south end, and we just anchored up in a nice protected bay in a beautiful spot and took advantage of being there and took a skiff to shore to go hiking just to get off the boat for a little while. And when we came back, we tied the skiff to the boat and got back on the boat. And then at some point, somebody all of a sudden noticed that the skiff was drifting away from the boat, and it was the wind was blowing, so the skiff was drifting away pretty quickly. And the skipper got on the back deck and saw the skiff go away, and it's a safety issue, and as well as, he just wanted his skiff back. So he right there stripped down to his underwear, jumped in the water, dove in the water, and swam after the skiff to retrieve it. And of course, that was exactly the moment when the small float plane came in to drop off the electronic component that we had been waiting for. So the float plane comes in, lands on the water, taxis up to the back of the stern of the boat, and of course sees the captain at that point in the skipper rowing back to the vessel, and needless to say, the pilot was probably quite surprised at what he saw and didn't quite know what to make of it, and he basically handed over the electronic equipment, didn't ask any questions, and just left and left us to our own devices. I mean, one of the draws for me to go out to the ocean is really to see new places, different areas, and I've worked in South Central Alaska, along the Aleutians, in the Bering Sea, in different places, and in the Arctic. And in part for me, I mean, the draw is to just see different places, and that's not necessarily seeing an ocean that looks very similar in the Chukchi Sea as in the Bering Sea, but seeing the coastline and seeing the islands and seeing the land.
We had one time where our ship ran out of fuel in their operating tanks, and we were left without power and of any kind on the ship for hours in the middle of Hinchinbrook Entrance near Prince William Sound one time. This little dark blip on everybody's radar, as it took us 6 or 7 hours to get everything back up again. You know, we didn't need to get anybody sent out to help us and get us out of our problem, but we were close.
We were sampling in the Chukchi Sea, pretty far offshore, and the weather kicked up. There's no place to hide up there, so we ran basically straight into the waves for about a day to get to hide up behind the coastline of Alaska, and we happened to end up near Point Lay. And so that was a really interesting experience for me. I was still fairly new to Alaska, and we launched a Zodiac and went ashore, which was a challenge in itself to get through the surf to land the boat there. But then on shore, we actually ran into a local woman who was also kind of an archaeologist, and she actually pointed out some sod houses to us that she had grown up in as a child, which was, to my mind at that time, was just unimaginable. You know, seeing a sod house constructed in part from whale bones, seeing the muktak stored underground in the frozen soil and little trenches going into it to slice chunks of the muktak that they would consume throughout the summer. And then seeing this woman as an archaeologist who had grown up in that area, had grown up in some of these sod houses, going through the different layers that were being exposed by the receding shoreline was quite fascinating. Just to go from kind of studying the marine environment from the boat far out at sea, and then coming to shore and seeing a culture, a community that had long connections to the land and the ocean there that I knew very little about.